Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishna. Om. Salutations to Bhagavan Ramakrishna. Today we look at another one of the householder disciples of Sri Ramakrishna's life, Chunilal Basu. The last Friday we seen Balram Basu. Now this devotee is not in that same kind of galaxy that we seen in the previous, some of the previous disciples. He played a kind of minor role. That could also be because nothing much was written about him. He left no records. But we get a little insight into some of his interactions with Sri Ramakrishna, which of course is helpful in understanding Sri Ramakrishna and understanding the lives of the householder disciples, so that we get inspired by this contact with the Master. So Chunilal Basu was born at Bagh Bazaar. Now that was somehow most of the disciples and the householder disciples of Sri Ramakrishna they were born in that locality. That's very strange. Somehow they had kind of decided to converge out there and be born so that they could be near. That's in North Calcutta. In 1849, after completing his school, etc., and then he had got a job with the Calcutta Municipal Corporation. He was already married and he had children, and yet, it's always, there was a kind of emptiness within. And this is felt everywhere. Some people, they do various other things to get rid of this emptiness or to fill the emptiness. What he used to do is, he used to visit monks and holy people, and he used to go to the banks of the Ganges and sit down. That loneliness is felt because there is a kind of a hunger or a need. Generally, we live our life on two levels. One is the external, that we all know and which people see and which we interact. But there is another calm, private life that is more intense than the external life. This also needs fulfillment, not just the external life. So there are some people who who will go to yogis, etc. There's an emptiness, or there's sometimes a kind of a restlessness. People mistake that restlessness for something else, could be. But there's another kind of restlessness that's a spiritual restlessness. There's something that, there's something within you that needs solid medicine to cure that restlessness. So that's the reason why he used to visit monks and holy people and places of, you can say, holy places of worship, etc. Sit down on the banks of it. He never went to, a bar or something else to neutralize that inner restlessness. So it means that there was a spiritual orientation from the very beginning. So one of his colleagues, noticing this, is saying, See, instead of going about here and there, why don't you go and meet Ramakrishna Paramahansa, and who lives in Dakshineshwar, is a genuine holy man. And he gave him the directions also, where exactly is Dakshineshwar. And then, after a few weeks, Chunilal did go to Dakshineshwar. And the first thing he goes, and it's a huge place, and he went round. And Sri Ramakrishna's room was not, discernible from the rest of the structure. Nothing kind of outstanding or special. So he was wandering about. He met a brahmachari, that is a monk. There was a cottage there, and the brahmachari came. What do you want? You want some medicine? Say, no, I want to meet the Paramahansa. That's another thing, that in India, they think monks are like doctors. They'll give you all strange concoctations of medicines, and they know all the secret herbs and this and that. And there are many monks who kind of, not traditional monks, but monks who deal with this. So long time ago, this was not allowed by, you can say, the tradition. But it was like during the Buddhistic time when monks used to move around. And so there was no facilities for hospitals and this and that in the old days, since 2,000, 3,000 years ago. So monks used to travel from place to place. They used to pick up stuff, and then they used to also treat people with medicine. So that kind of stamp was continuous on monks, and people, they used to come to Sri Ramakrishna also, give me some medicine for this and that, or help me get cured of this particular kind of ailment. So he said, I want to meet the Paramahansa. And so he was directed. The Paramahansa lives in that corner room. So he goes to Sri Ramakrishna's room. He sees someone sitting there, obviously Sri Ramakrishna. He enters. And Sri Ramakrishna, what do you want here? Why are you here? He says, I've come to see you. And this is traditionally what answer one should give. What do you want? No, I just come for darshan. Darshan is, of course, to see. And the master asked him to sit down. There was a small bench, and he sit down there. And Sri Ramakrishna kept on talking of various other things. Now, it's always, you don't give them the full treatment on the first time they come. The people want, they give them full treatment. No, they have to gauge that. Sri Ramakrishna should gauge people on two levels. One is through the ordinary methods of perception and inference, etc., and all this. The other one was the yogic vision. That is through a supersensuous method. So this is discussed by Swami Shardananda in his book. So he used, and in the process he used to talk about various other things. So he kept on, and then he never saw any kind of recognizable kind of spirituality in Sri Ramakrishna. So but he liked the conversations, etc. And then he felt Sri Ramakrishna treating him like he was his own, that is. While he was leaving, he gave him some prasad, like we do. But that Sri Ramakrishna used to keep that rock candy, sugar, condensed sugar. That restlessness of his mind, that because of the spirituality, was not diffused with meeting Sri Ramakrishna. So he decides to go on a kind of pilgrimage to all the various sacred places. And this has been another tradition that has been there for, if you want spirituality, go to these big places of spiritual culture, which has been there for thousands of years, and then go and seek holy men or go to the temples, etc., and talk to them. So he went to Varanasi, Vrindavan, Haridwar. So all these places of pilgrimage. Then he also said, let's go to Rishikesh. That's on the foothills of the Himalayas. You're going to Haridwar, of course. And now, when you go to these various pilgrimage places, pilgrim places, and you do this pilgrim, and you feel the fervor, spiritual fervor coming out, because there are other millions of people there, and you feel kind of uplifted. And then there was some kind of a pseudo renunciation that was generated in Chunilal, which is obviously. So he goes to Rishikesh. Rishikesh was exclusively for monks. There were villages and all nearby where the monks used to go and beg their daily bread. But that was the place. And we've seen some of the disciples also who used to go there. That place is amazing. But now things have changed, of course. You got everybody and everything there in Rishikesh. One time I was so disappointed when I went to Rishikesh. That idea of Rishikesh was there. So, and then what I saw was, so that was, and going there, you see, when you meet somebody genuine, your pseudo renunciation goes away. This happens in life also. Like you're good in something, a little, and when you meet a maestro, all that whatever you think you know is kind of just dissipated. So this is what actually happens with Chunilal. He had that pseudo renunciation. He goes and sees all these great monks there. Oh, I'm nowhere near. So he said, let's go back. So he had taken leave from his work, without mentioning it to his superintendent. He just wrote a kind of a note and said, I'm leaving. He takes a month's salary and leaves. And he didn't even wait for a month, comes back. And he knew that when he would go back, he would be dismissed. So he had mentally planned. So I'll go to the vice chairman of this municipal corporation, because he knew that person, and tell him exactly what happened. So when he came back, he was dismissed by superintendent, but the vice chairman reinstated him. So that was his foray into the world of spirituality. That is, sometimes this is also necessary for you to come to the real guru. After a few days, he goes to Dakshineshwar again. And this time, another visitor was there, devotee, who was Balram Basu. Now, they were both neighbors in Calcutta. So Sri Ramakrishna says, both of you can come together. Both are neighbors, and both you should get to know each other. So Balaram used to come every Sunday, almost every Sunday, to Dakshineshwar. So Chunilal used to accompany him. And they became good friends. And Sri Ramakrishna also says that he got acquainted with this devotee. Only thing, he was so self-effacing. He used to sit down in the corner, never get involved in, never participate in any conversations or debates or even ask questions. He was for some time been practicing yoga, and especially pranayama. He used to read the Shiva Samhita. That is one of the classic books on yoga. And so for years he was practicing this secretly. Especially the pranayama he was secretly practicing. And because of that he had various ailments, starting from asthma to other things also. So Sri Ramakrishna told him, why are you practicing this pranayama? And he was surprised because no one else knew him, that he practiced this pranayama and this yoga. He's saying, you need a guru. You cannot practice this on your own. What you need, Sri Ramakrishna says, have faith and love for God. That yoga sadhana, spiritual discipline, is not meant for you. So then he says, please take 3 doses of medicine from that one brahmachari Gopal. That brahmachari used to live out there in Dakshineshwar. And never practice this pranayama. So, and this is a note of caution for all of us, those who want to practice pranayama. What's the goal of pranayama? The methods are completely, you can say, obscure to most of us. And there are so many conditions put in for pranayama that it deters even the best of the aspirants. So he had said, you're a householder, you don't need to do all these kind of things. You have faith and love for God. Now, he took Sri Ramakrishna's advice, got that medicine, and in 3 doses, his illness was cured. What does pranayama do? Pranayama, if it is not done properly, will create problems. If done properly, it will nothing but hasten your spiritual practices. So he gave him another way to hasten his spiritual disciplines. Have faith and love for God. So he says, Sri Ramakrishna says, you see, if I touch any metal, my hand gets paralyzed. So why don't you just get an ordinary glass for me? And which he did, which Chunilal did, because he wanted the devotee to do some service, which is, there's another doubt about him. You know, in the old days, many people were barred from chanting the Om. That was, it's called a pranava. So he had doubts about it. So Sri Ramakrishna said, there was a condition, of course, you could chant Om if you were initiated. So that's okay. Now, of course, those old rules have all gone away. And then he was asking Sri Ramakrishna, what should I do? Sri Ramakrishna said, it's enough to repeat any name of God. There is no need to utter that Om specifically. And from this time on, Chunilal began practicing the spiritual japa and meditation according to Sri Ramakrishna's instruction. Now, his wife also was not very, you can say, healthy. So he had taken his wife on another trip to Vrindavan. And there he had stayed in Balram Bose's property, because Balram Bose had a property there. Kala Babu's Kunja, which after so many years has now come to the Ramakrishna mission. So he stayed there, and he and his wife met Gauri Ma, and Gauri Ma, one of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, monastic disciples, she took them around, showed them all the places of pilgrimage, all the various temples, and they also met Swami Brahmananda and Balaram Bose also had gone there. Chunilal returned from Vrindavan to Calcutta, and so that was his, you can say, that episode in his life. But when he came, he continued being the regular householder, doing his work, doing his spiritual practices. And that is what we see every householder disciple of Sri Ramakrishna following this path. They were doing their regular duties diligently, which Sri Ramakrishna insisted. And they are doing the spiritual practice also diligently. Many people do one thing and then they leave the other thing that, oh, that is God's will, God's grace, God's will. They don't exert themselves to do spiritual disciplines. So as he was interacting with Sri Ramakrishna, his mind was going a change. So Sri Ramakrishna, one time he says, I had a vision of the indivisible Satchidananda. Inside it, I saw two groups. Those devotees who believe in the personal God, that is God with form, and those who were the believers of the impersonal God without form. So here he says, I seen another disciple called Kedar and Chuni there in one group, and in the other group he saw Vivekananda seated down in Samadhi. So this shows that Sri Ramakrishna had also reckoned him to be a devotee who was a believer and a practitioner of spiritual discipline related to the God with form. And since he had a vision of him as a devotee who believed and worshipped the personal God, that speaks highly of his spiritual stature. And this is another thing that happens. You cannot know a person's spiritual stature until and unless you yourself are spiritual. And to recognize that, as they say, it takes a diamond to cut a diamond. So this was Sri Ramakrishna who said that Chuni's spiritual consciousness has been awakened by frequent visits to me. Now, what is the spiritual consciousness? Most of our consciousness is the material consciousness, because we think in terms of matter. We even think of spirituality in terms of matter. To think of spirituality in spiritual terms is a completely different set of mind. And that is cultivated through long practice, long association with holy people, and slowly your consciousness, this awareness that we have, becomes spiritual, not material. Then you will see the material world through spirituality. When you have come to this stage, you can be said, yes, now that person is spiritual. Otherwise, we are material with a spiritual goal. Somehow we are trying to clamber up this. And sometimes this material kind of slime is so thick, and we are trying to wash that, it doesn't go off. So this is the best way Sri Ramakrishna saw that his spiritual consciousness can be awakened. And Sri Ramakrishna told him, you come with Balaram Bose here and meet me every time. This was the silent influence of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was the blazing fire of spirituality, and he completely changed him. In 1886, January 1st, called the Kalpataru Day, Sri Ramakrishna had blessed all the devotees, be illumined, may your consciousness be awakened. And he used to ask him, what do you want? And he used to give it to them. The wish-fulfilling tree. So after this whole episode, Sri Ramakrishna had returned to his room, and Chunilal then comes there. He arrives to see everything, whole scene, and then he was told what happened. And he was so disappointed. He met Swami Vivekananda. He said, the master will not live long. If you have to ask anything, go in right now. So he was a close friend of Swami Vivekananda also. Now, what happened was, in order to guard Sri Ramakrishna from everybody coming and talking to him, because he couldn't talk anymore and he wanted to converse with them, and that was hurting his cancerous sore even more. So to avoid all this, Swami Niranjanananda, he was the guard. He used to be stand guard outside Sri Ramakrishna. We make it within our circles, we make a fun. When you go to the Ramakrishna realm, you know, you'll meet Swami Niranjanananda. He was standing like that. And he was tall and very stout and very athletic. If you get past him, then you can enter into Ramakrishna realm. It's called the Ramakrishna Lok. So he was standing guard now. Now Chunilal waited. Fortunately for Chunilal, Niranjan Maharaj had to leave his guard duty for a while and go somewhere else. And Chunilal just rushed into Sri Ramakrishna's room. Seeing Chunilal, Sri Ramakrishna said, what do you want? I mean, he couldn't speak there. He made action true signs. And Chunilal was so overwhelmed, he couldn't even say anything. And Sri Ramakrishna said, in his exact words, have love and faith for this place. That is, he used to point to that. You will achieve everything. Now, this is the takeaway message for all of us. And for all householder disciples, he used to more or less teach in the same way. Have faith here in this. You will achieve everything. This is the message for this age. Yeah. Because he knows who he is. If I say, have faith in me, I know what I am. I'll never say that. Who can say that? Have faith in me, faith and love in me. An avatar can do that. Because if you direct your devotion or everything towards an ordinary human being, the ordinary human being has failings. And you will see like they have the feet of clay, as it is said. Here, he knows his own powers. Have faith in him. Chunilal heard and he was so excited. He went downstairs. He related everything to Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda said, wonderful. You have nothing more to worry about. These words became Chunilal's mainstay in life. And he was one of the disciples who who outlived everybody. He passed away when he was 89. Yeah. 87. Yeah, one of those. After Sri Ramakrishna passed away, he kept in close contact with the disciples. Swami Vivekananda at times also used to send money to Chunilal from the US to help him. And Swamiji himself used to call him Narayana. That is the form of God. So throughout his life, he remained a faithful devotee. And towards the very end, there was a Swami who was sent to look after his transition. Now, when we want to pass away from this realm to the other realm, we want doctors and we want hospice nurses, we want this, we want that. We want a relative, somebody, there are some who don't want anybody. They just want it. The best way to transition from this realm to another is to get a person who is a spiritual person who can lead you to that. You're looking at him, you're reminded of spirituality and God. So Swami, there was a Swami called Bhagavatananda. He served this old dying devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. So, and that Swami, all Swamis, they help transition this soul from this realm to the next. Because great emphasis is laid in the Bhagavad Gita also about the last thought that will direct you in the next life. Whether you get a next life or whether you have to come again or you don't have to come again, that will depend on the last thought. So he began chanting Sri Ramakrishna's name. And as he began chanting and chanting and chanting, he gave up his body. Okay, that was in May 1936 at the age of 87. That was so all his life being absorbed in that thought, as the Bhagavad Gita, yam yam vapi smar. As you have thought your entire life, those very thoughts will crystallize and come to you when you are about to depart. So that will liberate you. Okay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Next Friday, this Friday class will be given by Swami Medhananda. He is a wonderful, eloquent and Swami who is coming from Hollywood for Mother's luncheon on Sunday. Not this Sunday, next Friday class, he will be speaking on Kalipada Ghosh, also called Dana Kali. The Dana is charitable. He was very charitable. And his Dana Kali's ashes, after cremation, are interred in Belur Mutt. And not only Belur Mutt, in Swamiji's temple. Yes. So that's a great householder disciple. So that's Friday. But Sunday, coming Sunday, Swami Satyamayananda will speak on the soul's 3 layers. We also have Ram Nam Sunday at 7 p.m. and Mother's Children, of course, at 9:50. So those who have not registered yet for the Mother's Luncheon, please do so. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. No, you don't have any questions now.